Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Meg Green here, and welcome to part 2 of my 2-part Beyblade tour review for today, or at least when I decide to actually publish this video, which is going to be at the end of the first week of next month. But anyways, we got another tour review today, so we're going to be reviewing the singles Brave Roktavor or Ragnarok R6. And starter set, Raid/Rage, Lúinor, Longinus, L6. So, pretty cool stuff. So, let's actually start with him first, and then we'll move on to the single. So, Raid or Rage Longinus. I'm not gonna lie, guys. This is the one I was looking forward to the most for Wave 1 of the Hasbro releases for Beyblade Burst Surge / Super King in Japanese. So, Rage Longinus, when this guy was revealed for Japan, I fell in love with this design immediately. I know I say that with most Beyblades, especially if you watch my major, my giant, collection review I did, of all of my Beyblades, which, keep in mind, guys, I'm thinking at the end of this year I might actually update that video and do it all over again, just now it's obviously updated with newer stuff that I got over time, but still, this design, I think, is probably the definitive Longinus that we've gotten in Beyblade Burst thus far. It culminates everything that I loved about the original designs, and then they just beautifully put them all together into this really, really nice design. So anyway, Rage Longinus, quite nice there. There's the CG render of him. And there's Spear Dullahan getting bursted in the background. Guy cannot catch a break. Can we get an F in the chat for, Spear Dullahan? As he seems to be sort of the hot topic for Hasbro to market him. Just be bursted by the other Beyblade. But regardless, Burst Surge SpeedStorm, Tech Type. This is where the Bane launcher will be. Of course, I will not be showing off the launcher, just the Beyblade itself, because we already saw the launcher in the Glide Roktavor R6 review. But anyway, Raid Lúinor, and for the remainder of the video, I'm going to call him Rage Longinus. Rage Longinus L6. I'm actually going to leave out the L6 for the remainder of the video as well, because that's his name in the Japanese, is Rage Longinus. But anyway, spins left, as you can see, with the Storm chip and the, Super King chip, and the ring chassis sort of fusion combo. And then we actually get a chassis disc with this one. This is 3 attack, but it's known as D84 for some reason. And then lastly, we get Destroy SpeedStorm with the SpeedStorm medal, which is pretty nice. And over there we have the fused attack power right there. And then we have these stats, which don't bother reading these because they're kind of garbage. But anyway, let's move on to the Beyblade itself. Starting off, if I can get it out of the background, with the Super King chip, which actually on this one is quite tight. There we go. Got it. So here we go. Here is the chip, Longinus. And like I said, really, really cool looking take on Longinus. He looks absolutely awesome. As you can see, you don't even have to have it in your hands, but you can just feel the rage coming from this chip. Longinus ain't messing around now. He is out for blood. I love this chip. It's amazing. So, okay, for a quick comparison, here's the last evolution that we had for him in GT. Zwei Longinus, you guys can see how that looks. And for those who don't know, I did say that right. Even though it's spelled Z-W-E-I, it's pronounced Zwei, because in German, Zwei means two. So, just in case anybody was saying, oh, you're not saying it right. No, I'm saying it right. So, Zwei Longinus right there for comparison. And of course, once we actually get through the rest of the parts, we're going to compare this to the original Longini of the Longinus family. So, pretty cool stuff. But anyway, there is the chip right there, Longinus. Next, we're going to take a look at the ring / chassis, but for Hasbro, it's just a ring. Anyway, here it is, Rage or Raid. And I have a few problems with this. First and foremost, lack of detail. This is that's kind of been with Hasbro since day one. They don't do much detail on their rings. Because although they did detail this, there's supposed to be detail on these, which, by the way, are not metal. As on the original release, these were metal dragon heads, but of course, Hasbro being Hasbro, took them off, and that's quite the shame. This no longer has the detail it's supposed to have, and that's really about it. Oh yeah, and it doesn't have the proper 3-attack chassis. Now it's just been modified to a disc, which is another part I have problems with. But regardless, the Rage base, at least they kept it to look like the original, so I can't complain there. Put the chip inside, and there you go. That is your Rage Longinus ring part right there. Quite nice. Well, actually for Hasbro it would be energy layer, but anyway. So you have that. Next we're going to bring in the chassis disc, which is 3-attack. Now the original 3-attack, which I don't have for the moment because I don't actually have a Japanese Rage Longinus yet, but the chassis, the original chassis that this is based on, is much larger. I would say it's about as large as Super Hyperion's 1-attack chassis, I would say. Roughly about that size, maybe a little bigger. And the blades on that were actually really nice. Which thankfully they kept them somewhat the same, because the sort of semi-gimmick to this chassis is that these points here and here would actually line up with the dragon heads on the ring, so that way it would have increased attack power when it actually makes contact. On this one, it doesn't do it all that much because it's smaller and lighter, so yeah. It kind of does it, but it's not as good as on the Japanese Rage Longinus, which is an absolute beast. But anyway, moving aside from that, here we actually have the driver of this Beyblade. This is Destroyer, or Destroy SpeedStorm Metal. Pretty cool. So again, this is akin to the original Destroy, except now it has metal on the top for the increased weight, as Hasbro's sort of way of making up for the lack of chassis, which would add a lot of weight. So there you go. And for comparison, here is the original Destroy from Nightmare Longinus. You guys can see just how significant the height is. Thankfully, they kept the plate, which is really nice. And of course, the SpeedStorm metal adds that much more weight. So I can't complain there. So as soon as I get the other Longinus back together, we can move on to actually putting the parts all together. So put on the thing there, put on the layer, which of course it's hard to see through the camera. But there you go. There is Rage Longinus. He looks quite awesome when he's all together. Just an absolute beast of a Beyblade. I hope he's actually good in battle. As again, I have not tested this guy, but from what I can tell from other reviewers, this guy's semi-okay. Semi-okay. Unlike the Japanese version, which I know for a fact is an absolute beast. That thing just destroys everything in its path. It's amazing. But anyway, for comparison, let's compare it to the rest of the Longinus line, starting with the original 2016 Lost Longinus, which, fun fact for you guys, Lost Longinus was actually one of the highest selling Beyblades of its time. As at the time when Dueler System came out, there were only right spin Beyblades. Only right spin. I know, that's crazy. There was a time when Beyblades only were released in right spin. But it was until Lost Longinus got revealed that we finally had our first taste of a left spin Beyblade, and people went crazy. And reasonably so, because it was something different. It was something new, something fresh. It was similar to other Dragon Beyblades we got in previous generations, but now it's an Ice Dragon. That's pretty cool. So, there's that. So there's Lost Longinus for you. Next, we're going to bring in 2017's Nightmare Longinus, which, of course, was really nice. Because of the gimmick on that one, which if you haven't seen my review on that, which happens to also be part of my collective review of my entire collection. I don't know why I couldn't think of the word when I was initially referencing it. But anyway, the gimmick with this one is that it had two No, not two. Yeah, it had two pieces. Yes. So the disc has been kind of melded in with the energy layer on this one. So when it battles, it will just hit, and then the heads will move, increasing its attack power, and then it will just burst and come into two pieces. So that was pretty cool. And of course, now in 2020, at least last year, Super King made it a standard where all Beyblades came in two pieces, unlike Hasbro's, which is three because they don't do chassis. But there you go. So there is Nightmare Longinus. Next, we're going to move on to 2018's Zwei Longinus, which is quite nice. Actually, no. Wait, hold on. I got that wrong. Here we go. Now, this is 2018's Bloody Longinus. My apologies. And this is when the design started to really change, as now we have more gold now, unlike we had before. We no longer have the two pieces anymore, which I thought was quite weird. And now we just have metal all over the thing. Just like Nightmare, except now it's more on the outside than just kind of on the inside and just a little bit on the outside. So it works. And plus we get Jolt, so that's a nice plus, and 13. So it works out. But there you go. Here's Bloody Longinus. Now we're going to move on to 2019's Zwei Longinus. There we go. That's proper. That's the proper release of that one. And let me tell you, back in GT, Zwei Longinus was quite the beast. And to be honest, a lot of us didn't think they were going to be able to top it, because this guy was pretty top tier for his generation. Well, not generation, but for his season, GT, or Gatinko. He was an absolute beast. But then, of course, Takara was like, hey, hold my beer. And now they release this thing. This absolute beast of a thing. So, good job, Takara, for one-upping what was, at the time, one of your strongest Beyblades in the entire system. But, anyway, that has been my part one of this review, and that was Rage Longinus. So we're going to move him out of the frame, and we're going to get on to the second and last Beyblade of this review, which again is Beyblade SpeedStorm Singles Brave Ragnarok or Roktavor R6. Now this is a sort of random combo one. Of course I did keep the instructions in there. It is stamina type, and we do get a nice CG render. If I can actually move it to light, there we go. Nice CG render of Brave Ragnarok right there. Surprisingly not bursting that poor sap that is Spear Dullahan. Moving the camera back over here and turning the box around, we have a nice product shot of Brave Ragnarok R6 with the Super King chip, ring, disc, and driver right there. We have the stats right there. And also I should clarify right now that the driver is not SpeedStorm metal, because it would say that if it was SpeedStorm metal. So there we go. Gonna get that sort of scanner bar out of there. Get rid of the box. And let's get on to the Beyblade. Starting off with the chip. We already saw it before. If I can actually get it back out. There we go. Get out. There we go. Okay. Get it out of there. There we go. So I already saw this chip before, but this is Ragnarok or Roktavor, and this looks pretty nice. Unlike the original, which let me actually bring in that chip for comparison. So here is the original Glide Ragnarok chip. So you guys can see, instead of being white with the silver and the gold and the blue, now it is red with black and purple and gold, and it looks really freaking cool. Out of the two of them, I actually am kind of split between these two. I already know I already said that I was kind of gushing a little bit over this chip and how the black and the gold and the purple and stuff and the red and the silver make it look really nice. But at the same time, the original is just so iconic. It's been with Ragnarok since day one, and it's nostalgic in its own weird way. Even though it's only 5 seasons in. But anyway, it's still really cool that we got this one. And again, out of the two, kind of split on these two. But I favor this one just a little bit more because, I don't know, the black, the purple, the red, the silver, and the gold, pretty cool stuff. So moving the chip out of the way, let's move on to the ring, which is Brave. Now, Brave initially debuted with Brave Valkyrie, or Brave Valtryek, and I have a few problems with this ring. First of which, again, as I keep saying, lack of detail. In its Japanese release, the detail on this thing was outstanding. It was blue, and it was gold and yellow, and it had like these really cool technical details on the wings here. It just looked really, really nice. Now it just kind of looks meh. And speaking of meh, another thing that I really, really hate is that they took away the rubber. Yes, this was the first Valkyrie to have rubber on it. And yes, Brave was absolutely broken back in 2020's Super King. This was absolutely insane. Because at the time, Valkyrie only usually would have rubber on either the driver or the disc. But this is the first, and so far only Valkyrie, to have rubber on the layer. Or at least it would have if Hasbro didn't go ahead and strip it off of it, even though they added it back onto Fafnir. That's kind of weird. But regardless, I'm glad that at least they kept it to look like the original, so good job to them for making it look like the original source material. But at the same time, I'm hoping that at least with the new Pro Series, we might see this chassis / ring combo finally get its redemption, because it needs that rubber. Without that rubber, Brave is garbage. Well, I shouldn't say garbage, but I should say it's not nearly as good as it really should be. So there we go. There is the Brave base right there. And let's put on the chip just because. So there's your full layer right there of Brave Ragnarok. Again, not a bad looking combo, actually. I thought Ragnarok would look terrible on Brave, but actually looks pretty good. I'll give it that. They actually somewhat surprised me here with how they took Ragnarok and Valkyrie and actually fused them together and made them look cool. So I'll take it. So there's that. Next we get the disc, which is Ratchet. Now Ratchet goes back a little bit. He goes back to 2019's GT or Gatinko. So that's kind of interesting. And of course, because it came out in that generation for Hasbro, Hypersphere, they stripped the gimmick, which was, if you don't remember, there was a little blue sort of plastic piece that would sit on here where these little blades would be. The blades at the top and bottom. And what those would do is they would spin and they would kind of help to deflect attacks from the lower part of the Beyblade. Of course, in practice, didn't really work all that well and just was kind of a nifty little trick it could do. But with this one, they completely stripped it and now it's just metal blades. That's all it is. Boring. But I mean, I'm glad it's here though. I mean, it does look nice, somewhat. Just a shame that they still haven't released a proper Ratchet yet. I'm praying that Pro Series will actually give us a proper Wizard Fafnir, plays Hasbro. But anyway, moving away from that, we're going to move on to the driver, which is Survivor, or Survival, however they call it, SpeedStorm, which is also known as just Survive SpeedStorm. And again, just like every other regular non-SpeedStorm metal driver, it's literally the same thing as Survive, it's just now it has taller height. So, but thankfully Survive actually is a somewhat good piece, although it is outclassed by other drivers like, Friction, what's the other one I'm thinking of? Eternal, Yielding. Yeah, it's outclassed by a good bit of drivers. Oh, I know I only mentioned 3, but it's outclassed by a good bit of stamina drivers. So, Bearing. So, it's okay, but, yeah, but in its debut, aka 2015, this was a quite good driver, so I can't complain there. So we're going to put on Ratchet, then we're going to put on the layer. And there is your Brave Ragnarok. And again, looks really, really pretty looking. Hopefully this will actually be good in battle. As as I mentioned before, Brave is kind of weaker now. Now it doesn't have its rubber, but hopefully in testing it will actually do semi-decent, at least, I hope. So setting them down real quick, we're going to do some comparisons. So first, might as well compare him to Rage Longinus from before. There are the two best together. So that way you can kind of get an idea of how Valkyrie and Longinus will look together. The original rivalry from Season 1. Good stuff. So, move that out of the way. We're going to get in the original Glide Ragnarok, R6, or Sky Ragnarok. And as you can see, Brave and Glide definitely have some similarities there with the sort of tri-wing design with like something trying to fill in the gaps between the blades. You know, I can see what they were going for there with this one. So, and it's interesting they call it a stamina type, this one, just the same as the original, but they're using an attack type ring. Very, very strange. But anyway, moving away from that, then we have our other Beyblade we reviewed earlier today, which is Spear Dullahans. You can see how those two look together. And some little devils. Kind of got the other one out of frame. And then the last comparisons, of course, are going to be my favorites from the Takara line, which are Super Hyperion, Exceed 1A, 1 attack, so you guys can see how that looks. Of course, he's out of frame, good for me. And then lastly, we have King Helios, Zone 1 balance. Good stuff there. Alright guys, so that has been my review and the end for now of toy reviews for this week. For this month. Not for this month, but for this week. I should mention right now that in the middle of next week, I am going to have another toy review up, and it's going to be for Super Hyperion H6, so do stay tuned. And hopefully, for a little while, that should be the end of toy reviews. Just FYI for those who don't really appreciate the toy reviews that much, which is sadly a majority of you. But I'm not surprised considering, you know, you guys came here for the gaming content and the toy reviews are just kind of filler. But at this point, but anyway. But thank you guys for enjoying anyways, especially my Beyblade fans, because, I mean, wow, some of you got these videos up to 100 plus views, which is fantastic, thank you. And let's hope that we can reach that milestone again. But anyway, with that being said, I'm going to end the video now before I start blabbering off like an idiot. And I will see you guys in the next video that I do. Later, Squad, and have a good one.